Okay, so the thing about Guy Williams, he was there through New Zealand On Air funding, which of course has been used fundamentally, New Zealand On Air funding and a whole lot of cultural funding has been used to basically propagandise and brainwash the people of New Zealand. That's what New Zealand On Air has been there to do. Drag queens, diversity, equality, inclusion, all that rubbish. And it's really interesting to watch in the United States what the new president and particularly Elon Musk are doing to that sort of soft propaganda funding. And they've set their sights on an outfit called USAID. And USAID, through a plethora of grants and committees and charities, has been spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of American dollars around the world to promote, well, you know, the sort of thing, to promote things that most of us think are a bit weird and really don't matter, like diversity, equity and inclusion rather than merit. And there's been a question or a claim that maybe $500,000 of funding has gone to support DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion policies or research at Auckland University from USAID. Now, it's there in a document, it's not specific, and Auckland University have come out and said, no, that's just not true, but they will not come on for an interview and explain why they did some research for USAID on things like diversity during COVID and COVID lockdowns. And if you've got nothing to hide, why don't you front someone from the university? You're paying millions and millions of dollars to people to be your communications advisor. But I've been trying for 4 days to get some response out of the university and nothing. So methinks they might have something to hide. I can't say what because they won't talk. But I look overall at what the USAID thing says about how particularly politicians on the left and liberal politicians, including Jacinda Ardern, have been using what is essentially public monies laundered and filtered through charities and trusts and foundations to propagandise nationally and internationally the woke issues that they are into. And some really strange organisations have been formed, like the Global Advertising Agency that operates like Rainbow Tick and tries to get advertising agencies and advertisers to sign up to a code of conduct that they will not advertise on non-woke media channels. And we have, in a very real sense at the platform, dealt with that in New Zealand. And I go back and I trace these companies, and they're all funded by charities that are funded by international funds, and USAID is often in there. I'm going to give you one example. There is an outfit called Foundation North. Foundation North runs or funds through 2 or 3 other parties an outfit called the Pākehā Project. Now go and search the Pākehā Project online. If anything is going to make you barf at sickly white liberalism, the Pākehā Project will. Funded by Foundation North, a charitable organisation. But the really interesting thing about Foundation North, which interestingly also through a series of proxies funded the play about Tusiata Arvia's violent kill white men poem. The funny thing about Foundation North is it is a government-run charity. Its trustees, which include James Brendan Bolger and Suzanne Snively, they're appointed by the Minister of Finance, because Foundation North was set up using public funds from the sale or the privatisation of the Auckland Savings Bank. It is your money. But by making it a charity and giving it a lefty woke agenda, that means the left, and Labour have largely done most of this, have set up this very complex network, this web of deceit, to take your money from you or to take money that is yours and use it to brainwash you. So what we are seeing happening with USAID could be done here. And if we had a government that was serious about cultural change and saying the emperor has no clothes, we would be having our own Department of Government Efficiency. We would be asking the tough questions of those elites who take things like Foundation North to progress divisive and, quite frankly, completely insane policies. It is happening around the world. We would be crazy to think this was not happening in New Zealand. And I think many of you voted for a government that would deal with it. There has been some progress. The disinformation project, of course, gone, and all those mad academics. But there is plenty of mud still in the swamp that has not been drained. And I would call on our government to actually get serious, because we are watching in the United States a very serious attempt to literally not just stop the gravy train, but tear the tracks up so it can't misuse and abuse citizens and taxpayers' money anymore. You can call me a cooker and a conspiracy theorist. I know these things to be true. And I'll give you an example. Helen Clark's on the gravy train, obviously. She's been screaming larger than anyone the idea that suddenly all these bodies that she's part of or supports are going to be accountable. How on earth does Jacinda Ardern get to be a lecturer at Harvard? Well, I guarantee you that somewhere along the way, some committee funded by USAID was involved in her appointment. And the complexity and the interrelatedness of global liberalism is, global wokeism is amazing. And of course, the government set up, and I couldn't believe Luxon did this when he became Prime Minister. It set up the Christchurch call and everything, just another slush fund for wokies to feed at the public trough. America have said, it's over. We need to say it's over as well. And this train of thought will come to a logical conclusion. And I think that's what this government needs to do. I'm going to say something about the supposedly big announcement that the Prime Minister made at the weekend, that if you're going to put millions into the New Zealand economy, you can come and be a New Zealand citizen and live here without having to speak English. And we'll bend a few other rules for you if you are rich. Here is my initial human reaction to that policy. Mr. Luxon, if you really want to attract overseas investment to New Zealand, you're not going to do it by saying to Singaporean and other foreign investors, oh, you don't have to bother learning English or indeed Maori or sign language to come and live here. You need to change our tax system and our tax rates for business so that investing in New Zealand provides a higher rate of return. You need to get rid of the red tape. You need to get rid of the silly woke compliance laws about rainbow tick and DEI, and you have to make us more attractive, not to people who want to come and live here, people who want to invest here. And I have a horrible feeling that I've seen all this before, and I saw it under John Key. And the idea is, we can't get our own economy right, let's import someone else's wealth. And it's like we are pimping ourselves out to international investors. I think it is short-sighted. I think it's simplistic. And I think it's kind of beneath the mana of this country. So why not get to work, Mr. Luxon, getting rid of all this grift and graft through outfits like the Foundation North? Why not get rid of... Oh, by the way, also, it does seem that USAID has been funding news organisations. And the problem is when and I'm sure they're doing it in New Zealand, but finding out the various mechanisms and committees they've set up to do that is going to be bloody difficult. I'm sure it'll all come out. Sean, explain what foreign investors are going to invest in. Yeah, well said, John. I don't know. But I'm not going to pay $3 million to come and live in New Zealand if I'm not getting a rate of return on my investment. So short-sighted, unimaginative from Chris Luxon, but that seems to be his way, doesn't it? And I'd love to see how many people, are beating a path to New Zealand's door because now they don't have to speak English. God, half the people here can't speak English. So there it is. There's my big sort of opening stanza for the day. Go and check out Foundation North and the plethora of woke crap that it funds. It's all your money, and all the trustees of Foundation North are appointed at the pleasure of the Minister of Finance. So actually tomorrow, Nicola Wills, you could do something about this. And we really need to go through all these charitable groups, half of which are run by the government, make them more publicly accountable, and stop them doing woke rubbish. It's that simple. And I've got to say this for Trump. I might have been a cynic, but his administration is showing the way for the rest of the world, as is that guy in Argentina. And we better get with the program.